We're back. We're back again, folks. Back in the pro wrestling time machine. The historical oracle rides again as we return to the heated summer of 1996. A lot is going on. It's an understatement, right? And few summers in wrestling compare to this one. And we're back. We're in August. Oracle, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. Just to give everyone an update of where I am currently now.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, we've got these. We we kind of gave myself time. I took a long break, like we talked about a couple weeks ago when we jumped back in. I'm now in February of '97. Let me tell you, folks, it's cooking in '97. It's cooking.
That's the actual best year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
both companies are doing their own thing in a great way.
Yeah.
Um, Is 97 before just a little tease for it? Is 97 your favorite WWF year ever?
It very well might be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even in February, they're not necessarily getting everything. It's really clunky and almost glitchy, but they're starting to sort
The
of
pieces are yeah.
mold itself into what it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's gonna be very
fascinating to
interesting.
watch. Um,
We're excited to cover all that and more. But first, August 96. Now, last time out, as you said, we returned last month, and WCW had their best month yet in this process, and arguably their best month to this point in history. Disney tapings, the NWO angle is underway and rolling. And now we're going to kind of build upon that. So, best you can, Oracle, as usual, we kind of set the stage this way. Where are we at here heading into August 96?
so what we have here is the NWO invasion is wholly underway. Currently, it is Hollywood Hogan and the Outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Disney tapings wrap up on August 5th. Which includes one of the all-time great promos from one Arn Anderson, which we will discuss
Oh, yes, we will.
in time this evening. Um, as they on the road to Sturgis, including the great opening video to that
Yes.
pay-per-view where they're just riding around on motorcycles across the Great American West. It's one of the finest. Uh,
Quite
opening
literal road to Sturgis in this case, right?
videos.
Tremendous.
um, but yeah, there's a couple big shows here. Sturgis, of course, with Hog Wild. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, it would change its name to Road Wild the following year, '97. But quite the event. And even though it was a ridiculous idea that ultimately ended up being silly, um, it did kind of serve to show how awesome it was back then. All these different settings
Yeah.
that really all the companies would go. ECW would have outdoor shows. WWF
Mm-hmm.
would go like Shotgun Saturday Night for the first 2 months.
Yeah.
Just the way the venues and stuff, they just look so much more fucking cool, man.
I know. It's far
Like
cry from today, right?
it's just
Yeah.
the only venue that has that sort of neat look is Daly's Place, which obviously that
Yeah.
got it, even then, even with that long 18-month run that they had, it still always had that night, that neat look, especially in the summer with the
For
with the
sure.
at dusk or whatever. It was always pretty,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like it. Um, there's really nothing like that anymore. Occasionally you'll get a Mania or a Big Dome show that'll look neat, but it's just I don't know. It's just one of those deals where like, man, these shows look awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But and then of course later on, WCW has the Clash of the Champions, which we'll also talk about. I believe that's in Denver, right? Am I not
I think so.
mistaken?
Yeah. I think so.
Of course, it has Hogan and Flair. We'll touch on
Yes.
that. Yeah, so which is a fascinating match.
Indeed, it is.
Because Hogan's trying to figure out how to work, that as heel,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll look again. We'll touch on all that, but I was thinking about this today. Kind of preparing for the show in my head as I do. I actually don't. Actually, I probably don't do quite the research I should for these things. I mean, I do enough, but it's more like okay, I'm sitting here and just sort of thinking about it. But from top to bottom on the card, WCW is excellent right now at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm into February '97, they really don't, oddly enough, don't hit that complete stride where everything seems to hit, where 80, 90% of the stuff seems to hit.
Yeah.
until really about September or October.
Mhm.
They're still kind of they have all these great workers and stuff, but it's not they're
And
still
take
kind
shape, right?
of
Yeah.
shaping their way out of the 95 gunk that they were dealing with before. Um, you know, and they're still kind of finding their groove and kind of getting out of that, let's face it, ugliness. And in a lot of ways, the top of the card has always been excellent, really, since
Mhm.
Nitro, since we started this. But the undercard is really starting to kind of, I'll talk about DDP, how he's picking up steam and stuff. It's they're really starting to finally kind of it's not fully in shape yet.
Right.
It's not fully in shape.
Got you. So let's jump into WCW kind of in detail now because they take another clean sweep here, right? Another clean sweep. It's like their full straight month for winning. Before we do that, I want to quickly. Monty is asking for an interview. He says your PR has not got back to me. I am your PR. It comes at a price, right? Oracle, fair to say. I mean, I
Right,
don't want to,
right,
I don't want to be crude on the air, but
right.
pay up a little bit
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens.
yeah, yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. Keep dreaming, pal. All right. Let's get into World Championship Wrestling, Hurricane Live's favorite. Hog Wild as well will start. As you mentioned, 2 events this month. So we'll kind of work through those in the way
Mhm.
we usually do. Let's start with the Hog Wild main event. Hulk Hogan claims the WCW title opposite the Giant. Where the angle needed to go, perhaps not the match that is, fitting for the storybook kind of arc.
Yeah.
What did you make of Hogan and the Giant and just the obvious direction of putting the belt on him?
You know what's funny?
Mm-hmm.
They never have a good match. No, no, no. Listen. You can disagree, and that's fine. But they never
Okay,
have a completely terrible match. All their
that's
matches
fair.
are kind of just that.
Well,
Like
Hogan's pretty
there
smart,
there's
right?
there's fun elements to all of
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Hogan's pretty smart. It's a
And
giant.
ultimately,
Yeah.
they actually ended up having because of that, I think they ended up having good chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, you can point to any of these other Hogan feuds at the time, especially Hollywood Hogan and, during the NWO era that are just he might have some good matches with some of these guys, scattered
Right.
scattered. I mean, literally scattered, like, a couple of ashes somewhere around there. Um, but in fairness, he worked pretty hard for the first year of this act. I think after the Luger program in the summer '97, he really started to phone it in more and more.
I would agree. Yeah.
Um, but in fact, he was really working quite hard. To his credit, as much as Hogan would work hard. But at least he was working hard to get heat, which he was very good at. Um, these matches they're not that bad,
Mm-hmm.
weirdly enough. My favorite part of this match is actually Giant hulking up, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
He
fun.
hulks up in this,
That's
if
fun.
I'm not mistaken.
I
Um,
think Hogan always wanted to do good by Paul too. I mean, I know he's still
mhm,
Hogan, but obviously he's a big part of his career and why he's even part of wrestling, right? So it kind of goes without saying. So yeah,
right,
it's the
yeah,
cool spot. I'm with you.
like, like, that spot always pops me because it's one of the few times that the crowd actually, like, all these, like, non-wrestling fans actually pop for when the Giant hulks up because, I'm sure most of these people are at least, you know, sort of familiar adjacent to Hogan, right?
Right.
So, like, when they see the other guy, and they maybe have an idea kind of that Hogan's sort of being a heel, although he's getting cheered most of the time. But when the guy, when Giant hulks up, it's kind of neat. The match is really obviously again not good, but it's not that bad. The finish, of course, is very famous. Um, beat him up, beat down at the end. They spray paint NWO on the belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in one of the more amusing, they would do this horse shit sometimes. Like this was kind of the beginning. This was, in fairness, Bischoff, Sullivan. They did their best to try to tie off and close up all these loose ends.
Yep.
Beefcake comes out with a cake.
It's awesome.
And he comes out and he's got the NWO cake, whatever it is, and celebrating. And he thinks he's going to be part of the crew. And, the outsiders and Hogan whip his ass and he gets his shit kicked out of him. And then Hogan later on, we'll get to the Flair match, cuts this great promo. He goes, if I do that to my best friend, what do you think I'd do to you? Which I thought was a great promo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just a very entertaining and amusing post match. Of course, the very the legendary parts, the spray painting of the
Right.
classic big gold belt with the NWO letters in black spray paint. But very much a pivotal moment in the history of wrestling in a lot of ways was the main event of
Mm-hmm.
that show. Hogan's got the title back, but he's a heel now, and they're from this point on they're kind of off and running, and new
Right.
members and the NWO will build and build and build too much in terms of adding people, but we'll cover that in due time.
Is it fair to say this was not, while we both had fun with this show, this is not the ideal setting for like the outsider taking the big belt and disrespecting it, right? Like, there's a
No,
place you could have done this where it would have got
no,
real heat, them spray
yeah,
painting the belt. But
absolutely
here it's
not.
kind of like,
Well,
whatever.
it's like they're doing it in fucking Sturgis, man. These people don't
Yeah,
watch wrestling. There's maybe 300 wrestling fans in there, if that.
right.
Out of the
Exactly.
thousands that were there, and it's like it would have been more. It would have been way more fitting if they'd done it at the Clash. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah, for sure.
that would have been at least a WCW type big time show.
Right.
Their sort of TV.
I mean, I guess in fairness, it wasn't really the ideal champ for that scenario either, right? I guess you just kind of had to do it and get on with it. I think probably is the
Yeah,
best way of looking at it.
yeah. Um,
Um, Interesting.
and kind of coming off of this,
Right,
I actually didn't dislike Giant's run that summer as a champ,
right.
but he needed to get the belt off of him. And even though this, let's be honest, began the trend of Paul White's let's turn him 1,700 times,
Mm.
turning him heel with NWO and then turning him back face actually made him a bigger star.
It did, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he had a very good 97 in terms of being over and working hard and such. Of course, the Luger tag team, but
Hmm.
yeah, and this ultimately benefited him. To be
Absolutely.
fair,
I would agree. Speaking of Luca tag teams, he is with Sting here. Obviously, the outsiders on this very show. Famous kind of finish and I guess infamous in some ways based on the execution. But Nick Patrick's involvement in the angle kind of that's the thing we need to start getting into. So it will eventually Nick Patrick will eventually be a very sore subject on this platform in about 10 episodes. Where we're at 15 episodes away. Um,
mhm.
but for now, he is the NWO's referee. What did you make of Nick Patrick's business here at Hogwild?
The match ain't too bad. But it's the funniest, like blatant. He just fucking falls over and just gives Luger a forearm to his fucking quad, or I'm sorry, his hamstring,
Yes.
and he just like it's so blatantly obvious. But that's also what makes it work too.
Yeah.
Like he's just obviously like,
Oh, folks, bear with us
him.
here as the Oracle of Wrestling will return momentarily. But yes, he is correct. It is a very obvious deal with old
Back,
Nick Patrick.
back,
He's almost back. He'll be back in a moment. He's asking if he's back right now. He's not yet. But bear with us. He's grinning wide, if nothing else, on his
Mhm.
frozen. There he is. Here he's returning now. Yes,
Am I back?
very
Yeah.
obvious indeed, Oracle. I would agree. You are,
Okay. Yeah.
yes, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very obvious.
But yeah, and it it made it worked because of how obvious it was, and in a lot of ways. But it was a funny bit too. I mean, I don't know if they intended it to be funny, but I thought it was like legitimately funny how it was executed.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree completely. Before we move on, here, I do want to shout out friend Chalk who gifted a sub to Wrestle Purist. You should not do that. He does not deserve that sub, but we appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you very much, pal. Monty, if you're still here, I'm sure he's watching NXT instead. Fucking coward, but thank Chalk. He's the man. All right. So it was a big show here for Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit. They had a very memorable match. Like I think one of the kind of I think one of Malenko's most famous matches, honestly, right? I mean,
Hmm.
this is a very, very prominent one. And in front of that crowd, I think that says something about how good the work was. This was your match of the month for WCW. What did you make of it on
Yeah,
revisit, mate?
it was just a really strong match.
Yeah.
They just one of those technical matches these guys would work at the time, and kind of momentum type match, but they ended up getting that crowd kind of, into the match, which is hard to do with
Yeah.
that crowd. The only the only other match that had heat was Steiner's and who was it? Was it Steiner's and Harlem Heat?
Different
But that
kind of
was for
heat, but yes. Yeah.
different reasons.
Different kind of heat, unfortunately.
but but the that it was a great match, man. I think they did, if I remember correctly, don't they do like they give him extra time or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
They
it's
do.
just a really strong match. And kind of served as a way to kind of Benoit was already getting a push because he was in the Horsemen, but
Right.
this was kind of a pivotal moment. I mean, Malenko was already, they had given him the cruiserweight title, but this was kind of a point where, yeah, he's still in the cruiserweight division after this, but this match was a big deal in terms of
Yeah. He's a
him
player.
solidifying him as an important mid carder and a player, right?
Absolutely. Quickly, while you brought that match up, is that, to me, that may be the best Harlem Heat 2-on-2 tag. That's a really fun match.
It is a fun
Um,
match.
I don't know what would be
And
better than that for
even
me.
with the unfortunate heat, that's sort of,
Yeah.
I hate to say it because it feels gross saying it, but it does add to the match.
Well, yeah, there's like an atmosphere to the
And
match.
not and mostly because Stevie and Booker are so great playing off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Sherry, of course, is great out there playing off of it too. But it's
Yeah.
just it's a really fun match. I agree.
Yeah, and like, I mean, with love to Harlem Heat, there's not many of their 2-on-2 tags that I would describe that way. So, it is what it is, right? They were a
Right.
great act, but they were
Mhm.
not on and Tully inside the ropes, right? Is what it is.
No,
No shame in
no.
that. Okay. Ultimo Dragon is here. He debuts in World Championship Wrestling opposite Ray Jr. on this very show. Talk us through his first month in the promotion, that match in particular, Oracle.
Yeah, Ultimo gets bigger push towards the end of the year, and of course, he has the oh God, what's it called, the J Crown,
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it's a it's a really strong match. He and Ray were good opponents.
Mm-hmm.
He and Ray had better. I mean, it's Ray. He and Ray had better chemistry than Ultimo and Malenko, which a lot of people talk about the Malenko Ultimo matches, and we'll get to them. I don't hate any of the Malenko Ultimo matches. There's one that I think is really good. The others I think are overrated, but pretty much all the Ray and Ultimo matches are a lot of fun. Their match at World War III is their best, but and we'll get to that. But this was a good one. Ray does a dive out to the floor early on, which is cool because it's like this dirt. It's like out in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of South Dakota dirt. He's out there doing dives, and like the big like it's weird because there's like it's a platform the ring's on, right?
Yeah.
And so he's
Absolutely.
doing this and he's doing these dives and like it's just really impressive to watch. But good match nonetheless.
I'm with you for sure. This move over to the Clash, which is, as you said, was main evented by Hogan and Flair. 2 years removed from their famous match in the summer of '94. There is a very different WCW and a very different Hogan, but he doesn't seem to quite know, as you alluded to, like what that means at this point. Now, before we get into the match itself, let's circle back to the start of the month because we're building up to this Horseman kind of being involved in the whole feud, and Arn Anderson cuts that promo, which is, man, it covers a lot of ground, but it feels like it's the best promo of his career, honestly. I mean, it's an
Mhm.
iconic promo. The visual of everything going on behind him while he's a classic. Let's talk about Arn's promo, and we'll kind of paint the picture of the build as we go to the match. So
Yeah, so
start with there.
he takes a line. What movie is that he takes the line from?
Is it Untouchables?
I think
I
so.
think.
Yeah. I think that's right.
Yeah.
But he just delivers it so well, and he wraps it all up in the story about he tells the whole story about he and Bagwell being in the ambulance together and Flair, and he's looking up in Flair and Sting, and they're all and it made him think, and he go, oh, I remember this, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse and all this other stuff, and he makes this. It's just just an incredible masterpiece from Arn.
Yeah.
Of 15 years of great promos, longer really, because he was cutting great promos after he retired, but
Mm-hmm.
um, just just a magnificent uh, sort of kind of overall broad sort of description of that story of the NWO
Yeah.
invasion and what it meant and like I don't know. In some ways, I've seen people not necessarily criticize the promo, but be upset because the War Games match never really pays off that sort of intensity of the promo,
Yeah.
because blood wasn't really, Turner didn't want blood and stuff like that. But regardless, just a incredible promo that sinks you right in, and it's just one of the best promos to make you want to see,
For sure.
WCW and the Horsemen fight back against NWO. Just incredible stuff.
It's wild too because we only have, I mean, as you said, he'll appear frequently afterwards. But how many more months is on active? Not many, right?
So,
Just with Luger at Havoc.
Arn is a full-time performer through January '97. That's it.
Okay. It's a shame, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's so fun in the Nitro era. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I was watching this past weekend. I was watching a lot that little tag run that him and Flair. We covered it a couple months ago, but when they're building up to the Mongo Kevin Green match, and Arn and Rick have that little tag television run where it's like they just sort of work. They work like the American Males, Sting and Luger. And I just forgot, and I was just watching
Rock
it.
and Rolls, I think, too.
That match is the first act of that match, especially, is like a time machine match. As it goes on, it kind of but the first part of it is really fun. Yeah, it's a shame Arn couldn't have been around on the Nitro anymore. I mean, obviously as a character he's around, but as a wrestler, I think he's very much missed.
Yeah, and he still has the all-time great setup for Flair's return. My God, I almost forgot the Fourth Horseman.
Indeed,
Ric Flair.
Indeed, which is so iconic that recently I tweeted a picture of him just doing this and with the Dax CM Punk reference, and people knew exactly what I was referencing because it's that. People know here's what it is, man. It's one of the best segments ever.
Great when he does that because the moment the crowd they realize what he's doing and they immediately start popping when he does that.
I've seen Tape. Tape said that might be the best moment in the history of Monday Night Wrestling, and it's like, yeah, man. I think that's I've not seen as much of it as Tape has or you have, but I think from what I've seen, that might be number one. That's special, really, really special.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually, folks.
Oh,
nonetheless,
man, I'm fired up for that.
Absolutely. Let's go back to the.
I'll tread through 8 months of 8 months of 3-hour nitros and.
Indeed, you have to skip some fucking disco matches or whatever. Nonetheless, let's get to the Hogan. Well, indeed, Hogan Flair match itself. One of the weirder matches. I mean, these guys wrestled a lot in the end after being like the ultimate, what could be match. But not only does Hogan not know how to be a heel in the ring, Flair always hates being a babyface. Yeah. So you have this sort of bizarre match where they're like at odds with their own usage and presentation. It's really strange. What did you make of it watching it back?
It's so bizarre, man. The match is actually not that bad.
No, I agree.
It's just weird. It's a fascinating watch because Hogan starts hulking up at one point, and it's like, why? Why are you hulking up? Don't do that. You can't do that anymore. But then, there's a lot of interesting discussions because I've seen people are like, this is where you get too, if you get too worked down into that and you try to take it too literally because it's wrestling, right? People are like, wait a minute, Hulk Hogan was able to hulk up and do all this stuff, and now he's suddenly begging off and selling and doing all this stuff. And it's like, part of that is, this is what happens when you have a guy who hulks up.
Yeah.
Now, when you go the other way, it's difficult to sort of, though he sort of figures it out and he sort of learns that begging off and being a cowardly heel is kind of the better way to do it because, one, it protects him because he's, it's Hogan, and two, it's really the smarter play based off of, the sort of classic Hulk Hogan babyface.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was just a bizarre match, and the post match is wild with the Horsemen and the Outsiders and whatnot brawling to close the show, but just some intense stuff. Just in terms of the build and whatnot. Some of Hogan's promos to Barry Flair were terrible. What was it he said? Something about he's some lame insult that he called Flair. I can't remember what it was. Something to do with Flair calling himself the man or something.
I think, they wrestled a lot, but I always thought whenever these guys were paired up, it really captured why a lot of us preferred, the I guess I'll call it the Flair side of wrestling, in the sense that
Mhm.
whenever they would have an exchange, heel or babyface, he would come across as such a pretender opposite Flair. You know, like without
Right.
fail, no matter when it was, even in 1999, it's like, man, I hope Flair kicks the shit out of this dude. You know, like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's
Like,
always striking to me, always. But anything else on Hogan and Flair?
um, they don't get back to this for a long time. You know, they do the War Games build, and they do that they have that they sort of tease it because really it's Horseman and the Wolf Pack that are feuding, right? 97.
Yeah.
Um, there's a great promo that Flair does over the air or, like, over the phone call where he buries Hogan because
Mm-hmm.
Hogan's wearing his robe and shit and all this stuff, and Flair just, like, it's one of those it's one of those Flair promos, or takes a big dig at Hogan or whatever.
Right.
Um, it was always weird because the way Flair cuts promos, and we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But nobody ever gets Hogan mad on promos. There's only two people I've ever seen get, like, you can see Hogan get visibly angry at:
Mm-hmm.
Nash
Yes, indeed.
and Roddy fucking Piper.
Well, yeah, because he's the
Piper's over
real bro.
Piper's over here just cooking them, and I can't wait till we talk about the Pirate feud. He is just being typical Roddy, just smearing Hogan, calling him all this stuff, telling him, "Don't you cut me." And you could see Terry Bollea's
Well, he's
face.
the one guy, he never fell in line for Hogan, ever,
No,
you
and
know?
Hogan gets so mad. He gets
Mhm.
so mad when Roddy's not, like, following along with what
Yeah,
because Roddy goes off script all the time.
of course.
Hogan he
Absolutely.
can't handle it.
No, I'm excited to talk about it because we both like that initial build and Starrcade match a lot. And I know it's
Yeah.
like I know that rivalry is really people dunk on it in history because of the sequels, but the first one is really fun. I'm
Mhm.
excited we can talk about it in a couple months here. But this kind of finished the Flair piece of this with the end of the month. Best angle went to the NWO, the spray painting of the hair, which is like they always use that visual in the
Oh,
documentaries and stuff,
yeah,
right? The way
yeah.
Flair
Great.
sells that has always popped me too. Like the way he like
Yeah.
he's so,
It's just such a great angle. Such a
yeah,
great
it
angle,
is.
man. This whole thing, the setup at the end of the month, we'll talk about that. They
Mhm.
have that all that great angle where they're supposed to be the Horseman versus Sting and Luger in a tag, and Lex and Sting just call them out, and they come out,
Right.
there's this great camera work of, like, Flair's face
Mm.
when they're telling him to be, and it's just it's incredible. And the promos all four guys cut, and it's just to form together to go
Mhm.
to War Games against the horse or the NWO. Just a great, incredible segment. And the commentary is incredible. I'll never forget one of my favorite moments is when they pan over to Flair after they asked him to team up,
Right.
and it's I think probably he and he's look at Flair,
Mhm.
they play it up so well on commentary is a big deal. Am I back yet?
Absolutely.
Did I go? Am I here?
Yeah, just briefly I heard you though. Heenan and Flair, we got you. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There was they would always kind of go that dynamic. They could always use that when necessary, right? Bobby and Flair
Mhm.
is always fun.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Ted DiBiase is in the territory, for better or worse. He's involved in all of this because he's hinting at a new member on, and
Mhm.
he's like hitting at both sides and stuff. And yeah, Ted as a manager, man, here's what is. What do you make of him here in the start of his
His
WCW run?
debut's awesome. He's
Fair.
sitting out there and he does
Mm-hmm.
that
Yeah,
deal,
that's
the fifth guy, whatever. Such a great, great debut because he teases giant turning, and we'll touch that next, in a couple weeks when we cover September. But I was reading about it because some of the rare research that I do, and I think it was just him interviewed or whatever, and he Ted, buries Bischoff and says, "Well, I was supposed to be the voice of the NWO, but when Eric
oh
came in, it took me." Have you read that before? Have you heard that before?
no, that's
Yeah.
embarrassing. He should be ashamed of
Ted
himself.
Ted's all like, "I was supposed to be the voice," and then when he turned heel and took over, that my position in the NWO was worthless. So, um, I didn't love or hate DiBiase in the role. Although I think I actually in some ways I actually think he kind of fit nicely in it. Weirdly enough,
Hmm.
um, he's worth. I don't think he's wrong that his worth got less and less when Bischoff came.
For
I mean,
sure.
I don't
He's
disagree with
just
that.
see his thing.
I don't necessarily feel. First of all, Bischoff was a better performer than he was, and
Yeah,
was a better voice for the NWO.
yeah. It's just
But
he was a good fit. It's just he's running the $1 million corporation. He's like one of the
oh,
worst.
it's awful. It's one of the worst.
You know,
It's dire.
so the fact that he landed in this at all is a dub.
Yeah,
He should just leave it there. He doesn't have to
right,
complain that he didn't get more. Like,
right.
bro, you was in the NWO after that. Like, come on, man. But nonetheless, he was cashing checks. God bless him. Hogan is headed to Savage at Havoc. Obviously, the build of this is kind of emerging, and this is something that was referenced way back, which we covered at the time. But early days of that build, Oracle, what's happening with Hogan
Dude,
and Savage?
the one thing I can circle is I think it's the Nitro in Casper, Wyoming after um Hog Wild.
Hmm.
Hogan fucking kills Randy with a chair shot. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's on the floor and he hits him and he busts Randy's open in the back of the head. You don't
Oh
see it,
yes,
but
yeah.
he like, and usually it's not Hogan. Hogan's not the one to be swinging the chair. Like he's most of the
Make
time, his chair shots are awful.
makes you think, right?
But yeah, but like, I mean, dude, I mean, and granted, he wasn't swinging it like he was Taker or something like during the Attitude Era. God,
Hmm.
nobody swung a chair quite like Taker did in the Attitude Era. But
Indeed.
but I mean, he hits him, man, and he fucking cracks him. I mean, it's loud.
Yeah, I
It's
remember
like,
now.
oh shit. Um, that's kind of that was kind of the first big angle they do, to kind of to build to the matches when he that a couple nights after Hog Wild, he fucking levels Randy in the back of the head with the chair, and I think Savage had to get stitches or something. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was a vile chair shot just because of where he hit him. Like,
Hmm.
it wasn't because Hogan swings not it was harder than he normally would, but he hits him right at an
His
ugly
swings always
spot, man.
his usual swing is so funny.
Oh god,
The
like when
little
they would
wrist thing he
when they
does.
would pull up Piper's for his hip,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
he'd drop it down like he's breaking down chairs after like an event. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing stuff. All right, this was on Clash, right? The DDP Guerrero match, Lord of the Ring
Mhm,
one. Yeah.
mhm. This is
How's
not a
their
bad
feud going?
sprint.
Okay, cool.
The Havoc match, we'll get to that. I think Eddie gets hurt in that match, and that's why the match is kinda weird. Um,
Right.
but he and Eddie end up having, like, a long sort of feud off and on for the rest of '96, and they never fully have the match you want them to have,
Hmm.
but I also, this will sound weird and controversial. I don't think Eddie was fully where he would be,
No, I think
and
that's
obviously
very fair.
DDP wasn't,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
DDP was getting better, but, um, and it's weird because you could tell they were almost gonna have good chemistry, like, they like, if they had
Hmm.
if they had really kind of that's why I wish they had a match in, like, '98 or '99 on TV. I feel like that would have been really good.
For sure. Yeah, yeah, and it's they had different areas to improve on respectively too, right? So kind of
Yeah.
they got there in the end. Conan has turned heel. Um, he's about to kind of like become the Conan that everyone now kind of knows, for better or worse, the Conan that
Yeah.
everyone is aware of. In America, I should say, because obviously he was huge during Mexico, but heel turn here. What did you make of Conan turn to the dark side, brother, brother?
I will say this for Conan, he had a look and a presentation that was fitting for the '90s. When he would do I mean, it was silly, right? Like,
Yeah, no,
but
I'm with you.
it fit with the era.
Yeah, he got
But
over
I
too.
fucking hate the dude. Every time. Dude, like, he's like my least it's like I'm sitting here and it's like, oh, Bobby Eaton comes out, and then, like, he's facing Conan. I'm like, "Oh, fuck." Like,
Yeah,
he's gonna hurt Bobby and drop him on his head or something. It's just like, I can't watch I mean, I watch it because I'm an idiot,
the
but
Oracle of Wrestling, right? That's what it is.
exactly. But Conan sucks, man. He
Yeah.
sucks.
Well, there you go, folks. You can see him at the Hall of Fame here in a couple of weeks. Sure that will go swimmingly.
Oh my god.
That's actually worth watching because that could be.
Oh, could you imagine if because he's yeah, could you imagine if Dom attacks him on stage or something?
Well, I think they might do that. Yeah,
Oh my god, that would
I
be
do.
incredible. Because yeah, he's
Very
got
interesting.
he's got kidney problems, right? He's
Yeah, but he did the angle
mm,
with FTR did something to him, right? When they were feuding with
yeah,
Santana and
mhm,
Ortiz, they did like a didn't they do the pole driver to him?
or something like that, yeah. But his his health is a little bit worse than it was then, right now, I would
I don't
imagine,
know.
yeah.
Hopefully he's
I don't
okay,
know,
but
hopefully he's well, but,
it
um,
was the pole driver. I'm not imagining that Conan took one of
I
these.
can't remember exactly, but Dom I mean, we could have Bobby and I will touch on that on Sunday, but Dom continues to rule, man, he's incredible.
Oh, he's tremendous. It's great stuff. Hoovy is in the building. He debuts the promotion, as does Chris Jericho. Start with Hoovy. How's he getting rolling here in World Championship Wrestling?
Hoovie's a fascinating one, man, like, I can't remember what it was. I think we've had this there was this discussion was always like he would talk about the big 3 luchadors, big
Mm-hmm.
4, which were Ray, Hoovy, Psychosis, and Laparca, you know?
Yeah.
They had the other ones like, Super Kylo, Sickle Play, all those guys were there. El Dandy, who's an all-time great wrestler, but, he wasn't in terms of his use within WCW, he wasn't,
Right.
pivotal, like those 4 were. And of course, Hoovy and Psych were kind of 2 and 3 after Ray, and so they just naturally get compared, and I can't remember which one I always said had the higher ceiling. Psych had the higher ceiling, and I think Hoovy had the higher floor, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. I think
Yeah.
that's what I said.
Yeah, I would agree.
Um,
That's what you said.
but, like, I don't know, it was a lot more fun to watch Hoovy crash and burn than I think Psychosis was, because
Hoovie's a
when Psych
hoot,
would do it,
man.
it would just go the match would be completely off the rails,
Mm-hmm.
or, like, with Hoovy, it would just be, like, kind of endearing. I
He
don't know,
gets
maybe
over too. He gets over big.
that that probably sounds weird, but, we'll be able to kind of go deeper into that over the course
Mm-hmm.
of this project, but,
Works for me. What about Jericho? What's his for early days looking like in WCW?
uh, he comes out to this awesome music that is one of my favorite theme songs ever at the time. It's his first theme song, if you
Oh
know
yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah.
It was the Baseball Tonight theme song on SportsCenter for
Oh.
years in the '90s, and, like, it's just awesome, like, '90s theme, and it
Mm-hmm.
fucking rules, and it pops me every time. He's just, he's Jericho. He's fine. Like, he's fine. Like, he's clearly a good worker at this point. Green,
Yeah.
but he's good. He's solid. But he's not doing much of anything yet. He will, as we mentioned earlier, Nick Patrick. He will be involved in a program with Nick Patrick and the great Teddy Long. Uh,
Indeed.
we will cover that here in the next month or two when we get to that point. But
Something to look forward to.
he has a competitive 10-minute match with Nick Patrick. Why?
It takes him a while to get rolling, man. It really does. Like,
The match is fun, but it's like, why is it this long, and why is Nick
yeah,
Patrick getting this off? I mean, Patrick is, I mean, his dad, he's the assassin's son.
right.
He's a trained worker, but he got hurt and he had to be a
Yeah.
ref. But, like, they don't even say that. I'm jumping way ahead, but it's just
I'm
like
with you.
it's
I'm with you.
frustrating. It's like you could at least say he was a wrestler and legitimize his offense some. Good
Look,
lord.
man, we're going to talk about Nick Patrick a lot in the coming months and years of this show. It will never be positive. It is what it is, right?
I believe Jericho and Alex Wright was a debut match from each, yes, and it's pretty decent. Alex
I
Wright was
believe it.
always kind of the guy they would throw out there to, like,
Yeah.
because he was such a solid worker. He'd go
Hmm.
out there and kind of rub shoulders with those guys and have a fun 4 or 5 minute TV match.
Tremendous. Now, I think it goes without saying, but another big month for WCW, right?
Oh my
They're
god.
rolling. Yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
god, and it's only going to get more. I
Hmm.
mean, because like, and like, another thing is they're not hitting everything out with blockbuster endings and shit. Wait
Right.
till we get to the end of '96, end of '96 and then '97 when, like, every Nitro ending is the heat is just through the roof.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just some of these segments are just. I mean, you forget about some of them.
Hmm.
Like,
Because there's
it's
so
like,
many of
"Oh,
them.
I forgot about this one,"
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Glory days, brother. Glory days. We head now to the land of Extreme Championship Wrestling, EC Dub. 2 events for them also. The Doctor is in and Natural Born Killers. Doctor is in, obviously, in reference to this time, a rare US appearance for Dr. Death Steve Williams, who, I mean, he was still very much working All Japan, like, regularly, right, at this time? Yeah. Let's start there. What was Dr. Death's ECW kind of debut looking like? What did he do on this show?
He actually ends up working there for the next 6 months pretty
Right.
consistently.
Did he like monthly shots for them?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. He and Gordy end up getting back together, and we'll cover that some.
Right. Yeah.
Feuding with the Eliminators. I mean, he's not that good. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's just not like. In some ways, it's probably just a paycheck type deal. For him at this point. He's still very much engrossed in the All Japan deal, so he's probably like, I'll work harder there, and here I just, come back to the States, get a pop.
Yeah.
It's nothing really offensive or anything, but he's nothing to write home about.
What does he do on this show? Is he in a tag as well?
I think he's teaming with who does he? Oh fuck. There I go with my research again, and covering my bases. But he I think he's teaming with Dreamer.
Let me find out. I know you've watched a lot of professional wrestling, Oracle, so I understand. We'll try and crack this code here. ECW, the Doctor is in. Dr. Death. Correct. He teams with Tommy Dreamer opposite Brian Lee and Taz.
Oh fuck!
For a 7-minute tag team tilt. So,
as Brawl Pro Joe says, Taz wasn't quite Misawa, and I like Taz, but
he'd get so mad at that comment. Right? He would get so mad. Better suplexes though. Shrug his shoulders. Anyway.
In his Taz chuckle.
Yeah, his big leather jacket. Anyway, the Gangsters win the tag titles on this show. Before we get to that match, this gives some love to New Jack, who took best promo. With a very famous promo in reference to his nephew. And
have you seen this one?
Yeah, it's
incredible.
One appears on the timeline every once in a while.
It's an incredible promo.
It is indeed. Yeah.
He's just an all-time great promo. Just very
great
real,
talking,
very authentic.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you want to see, and in some, he does a good job of making you want to see.
Yep, he does indeed. Makes you want to see the match.
It's just very entertaining stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know if that makes you want to see the match, but it makes you want to see them come out with the music playing and hit guys with trash cans. But
speaking of such, how was their tag title win at Doctor Is In, Oracle?
It was fine. It was a big deal because it was a payoff. They finally won the tag belts or whatever. After a long, kind of a long road there, and kind of they're at this point wrapping up that big eliminators feud that they've had the last 6 months, which is a fun feud. So yeah, it got a nice pop.
Indeed. One thing is clear. I think no one gunk was playing, but regardless, this will be a couple years away. But I will go out my way to rewatch this when it comes around for us on the Historical Oracle, because Jerry Lawler, who you will seldom hear me praise on this program, he produces one of the great calls in wrestling history, as his best friend has to watch Dr. Death get knocked out cold. And it is one of the more sinister moments on Raw ever. Think of the ground that covers. Jim Ross just goes quiet at some point because Bart is fucking hitting
wrecking him.
Jerry, who never give a shit about Jerry never give a shit about those fights, all of a sudden starts yelling, "Oh, he's gonna go! He starts screaming." So when we get there, that will get ample time. Bless him, man. It wasn't his fault. JR set dude up with that one. It was a shame. Anyway, RVD and Sabu closed this show. The former kind of references they're going to go into a tag team in this month. So talk about that match and then them becoming a team here in the coming weeks and months.
This was one of those like classic ECW feuds that probably got a lot of love and talk in the mid '90s tape trading scene. But this fucking feud sucks, man. Like one of these matches is not that bad, and this might be the one, but it's just. I mean,
tremendous.
But it's like, God, they're so boring, and they're just like doing a running sort of array of spots. It's just so lousy.
It's not my thing. Yeah,
it's like At least when they team up and they feud with the Eliminators and Saturn are so kind of charismatic in a way as a tag team where they're like psychotic shit that they do. It's really entertaining, even if it's a bit much,
Hmm.
right? When these guys are just facing off, it's like, oh, so lame. It's just lame, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't get into this respect angle at all, man. Like it was like I was supposed to take
Paulie
it
loves
serious.
this shit, man. He
I
loves
know.
it, doesn't he?
I
He
know.
loves that. He loves that like foes become friends thing, or like become
So
like
phony.
allies. Yeah, he loves it. Do you remember when he did that shit with Braun and Seth?
Oh my god.
That was when you knew that he didn't have the cards he was looking for at the time. For rolling that out there, doing that angle, incredible. It was a different time. We'll cover that in about 25 years on the historical oracle 2019 deep dive. What a time that'll be.
Absolutely not.
Bob can come on and
And if
explain
I
all the
do
wild
that,
card rules. Good.
if I do that, you're paying me more, and I'm bringing you on to watch all the Shane McMahon matches.
There ain't no amount of money in the world that get me to rewatch those matches. Well, that's a lie. It's actually a very low amount that'll probably make me do it, but even still, for the sake of arguments. Chris Jericho and Two Cold Scorpio take best match of the month on this very show. As we kind of just talked about, Jericho's winding down in ECW. How does he wrap up his run, and then this match in particular with Two Cold?
Yeah, this was good. Too Cold was hitting the stride big in '96. Great
Right.
worker. One of the only guys in ECW who's really having consistently strong technical, just kind of solid pro wrestling matches. And Jericho was obviously kind of going along for the ride here. He was still green, but
Mm-hmm.
really, really fun match. A lot of big moves, but they paced it well. They structured it well. Very good send off for Jericho.
Tremendous. I actually want to see this one out. I've not seen this, I don't think. I want to watch this one,
It's
so I'm
good.
going to try my best to. Stevie Richards is headed in a different direction, to say the least. The BWO is fast approaching. This is taking shape, Oracle. Talks through the early stages of an act that people remember, man. I mean, like, people still remember that act,
Dude,
so.
I'm in February '97. They're over
Yeah,
big fucking time.
tremendous.
Um, it's not fully developed yet. They're just kind of in the opening sort of salvo of it. This was really big for Steve. It's the height of his career in terms of like over as a star, even though it's within ECW, which is
Right.
a tier below. He was very, very over. Of course, he jumps to WCW with Raven briefly, and was in
Mm-hmm.
Raven's block and was kind of his voice man for a little bit there, and then didn't work out obviously, and jumped back to ECW in '98 before he joined the Fed. But yeah, he's kind of slowly breaking away from Raven here, and eventually they'll hit to that point, and it's I'll tell you what, and we'll get to it, but the build to Barely Legal is incredible, man.
Yeah,
The way that they've managed to find their way into that kind of groundswell, the build to the show is it's really, really, really well done.
tremendous. Oracle, I hate to correct you. You're the historical Oracle. I don't like to do that, but you should have said his career high until 2009 when he portrayed Dr. Stevie on
Oh, I'm
Total
sorry.
Nonstop Action. I don't like to do that, but you can't. Some things have to
Steve,
be
I
in the history
forgot about
books.
Dr. Stevie.
Yeah, you
That was
can't.
that was where he
Yeah,
first jumped right after he left the Fed. He was in the Fed for
yeah.
10 years almost,
I know it's bizarre
which
because
is
you told me what he
incredible.
did. I'd be like, I know he was with Victoria for a bit, and he did Right to
Mhm,
Censor.
mhm.
What else did he do?
He was on the new ECW, he was a
Oh,
jobber.
right.
Um, I mean, he was probably a bit of a player coach in a way. I mean, I could be wrong, but I
Probably, yeah.
he's probably somewhat like that.
I seem to remember like
Um,
Johnny Ace being a fan of him as like a player coach. I seem to think I believe that was the thing. So yeah, probably. Maybe house shows and stuff. Makes sense. Okay. We'll
I hated the Right to Censor when I was a kid. Oh my god. I was so mad at them. I hated them.
tremendous.
This 7-year-old kid was so mad that he couldn't see.
well, how long do you think it'll be, Oracle, until we do the TNA series where we can talk about Dr. Steve? We could get Alex on. What do you think? Is that one for
Uh,
2040?
well, that's something we can aim for in 2035. How about that?
Yeah. All right, works for me. Shane Douglas is working with the Pitbulls this month. How is this feud looking? How does this thing come together? Him and the Pitbulls.
Okay, so Pitbull Gary Wolf, Pitbull won. takes Shane Douglas's single arm DDT on a
Hmm.
title belt. Wrong. Breaks his neck.
Right.
Okay. Now we're off and running. There's a lot more craziness to come here, but it's just starting. And of course, Francine is with Shane Douglas now, and I didn't mind him so much when we first started covering '96, but by God, Shane Douglas, you need to. How about cut the fucking mic so I don't have to hear him cut out a damn promo?
I knew this was going to happen. It's tough because
I
you watch
will
him
say
on
this.
Wednesday
I will
nights
say
too,
this.
so it's hard.
Okay, Francine's a really good manager.
Hmm.
Like she's actually underrated.
Yeah,
But Shane, shut up, dude.
yeah.
Tired of hearing your shit, and it's only gonna get worse and worse.
Oh, it gets much worse. When you're in 2000 and he's doing his fucking work shoot thing with Flair that lasts like a week, then
Oh
you'll
God.
then you'll
They have
remember.
a match at what, Slamboree 2000?
Yes, because that's part of the reboot, right? As he attacks Flair on the
Mm-hmm.
reboot episode,
Yeah.
which everyone wanted. Obviously, that was the thing we all needed to happen. Um, that is one
A
of the weirdest.
revolution. Remember that
That
shit? When
oh,
he
indeed, yeah.
Oh, I can't wait till we get to that.
Shane Douglas and Ric Flair's beef now is like one of the weirdest things imaginable because Flair is so embarrassing that he kind of lets Shane win now. He's like, how has this happened? What a turn of events. But nonetheless, we'll hopefully never cover any of that. Natural Born
Oh, we'll be
Killers,
getting there, brother.
that
I
part of
got
it,
it in me, brother.
I'm talking about this last few years. I don't want to ever
Oh,
cover that
yeah, yeah.
shit.
Oh, yeah.
We've been doing the grinning that time and we haven't covered it. But nonetheless, Natural Killers is the other big show of the month. We have Taz versus Tommy Dreamer on this show. The setup for this, Taz choking out Dream, was best angle. How's this whole thing kind of been going thus far?
Taz is like he's sort of finding people that are kind of like adjacent to Sabu in
Hmm.
some way. It's kind of his chase to Sabu in a lot of ways, and
Right,
kind of going through, um, as many people as he can. He's kind of stopped doing the whole like, um, you know, finding some random MMA fighter to, have a
right.
terrible work shoot match with. Um, and but he he's kind of he's starting to heat up a little bit better now. There was for a while there, he's kind of you could tell he's kind of getting kind of it's getting it's getting stale.
Yeah.
Um, but luckily things get kind of put back on the Dreamer feud. I don't love, but it's a way it's one of those stopgap things, and then he gets the
Hmm.
RVD deal, and that gets a little bit more interesting because Van Dam and Sabu are tag partners by that point, and they get the eventually we get the November to Remember face off, and we're off and running. But yeah, he's been kind of running in place here. And,
Right.
but Taz all the segments were always entertaining. Good promo, cusses people out in the front row. It's funny.
He's fun.
Just typical ECW Taz. I
Hmm.
prefer him more as a babyface in 97, 98, I think,
Right.
actually. His first, like, 3 or 4 months after the turn are awesome, the heel turn in 95,
Hmm.
96. And now he's awesome again, like, as they really go towards the Sabu turn or the Sabu feud at Barely Legal. I like him a lot when he's a babyface and then champ or whatever, because he's just you can tell the fans kinda wanna cheer him over time, so they get
Right.
to, and, like, it's just fun watching him,
I'm big on that, man. I really, I think,
like have you ever seen we'll get to it, but have you ever seen the Russ Plaza angle where he wins the TV title? It's all in the same taping, and, it's the one where Lawler and Cornette,
yeah, yeah.
invade the ECW arena,
Hmm.
and they're beating everybody, and Taz's music hits,
That's great. Yeah.
and the place literally, like, explodes like a fucking earthquake.
That's like Paul
I'm
D's.
like,
Them sort of angles are his specialty, right? That's
"Oh, man,
his.
it's something." It's like, we
Yeah.
don't get that anymore, man. We don't get it.
Paul Lee does a few. He's the closest, right? He does some cool
Yeah,
shit still. But yeah, I'm with you.
yeah.
Um, I'm just big on the general, like the core idea of what you just said with Taz. And as you know, I'm not seeing a lot of ECW, but the idea of just letting people cheer the guy they want to cheer, I think is so foreign to wrestling minds nowadays.
Well,
You
the
know,
problem is now oh god, I'm gonna be this guy. I'm gonna yell at the clouds like Kevin Nash and Steve Austin, The Undertaker.
Bro, they made a pact. That's incredible. A pact is incredible,
What they
man.
do? Cut their hands and shake the fucking. But and the three people of all, like three totally
Yeah,
different people to make that pact. What a ridiculous thing.
incredible.
That's also total horse shit. First of all, have
Yeah,
they ever
Kev's
watched
just
any of it?
I feel
But
like Kev's just popping himself, right? It feels
oh, for
like,
sure, for
yeah.
sure, for sure. Yeah, man. I can hear him saying it now on his podcast. Um, but
Tremendous.
oh god, now it made me now that threw my mind everywhere. What the hell was I
We were
rambling
talking
on
about
about?
letting the people cheer who they want to cheer and,
Okay, so when Austin turned face in '97, okay, he was still a sociopath.
right.
When Taz turns face in '97, he's still a jerk asshole.
Mhm.
The problem is now in wrestling, WWE mostly, I'll be honest, you can't just change their character because they're changing
Yeah.
their face heel
They've
dynamics.
struggled with that a lot through the years.
Stop
Yeah.
changing who they are. You can't do that.
Yeah.
The only one that they ever really didn't mess with, and it worked, and you can tell was Becky,
Yeah.
you know? And even then, but she was also smart enough to know to
Right.
stay the course, even though they did actual angles and booking that didn't benefit her a lot of the times, like fucking
Mhm.
pairing her up with her husband and that terrible feud. But um, but yeah, like they just they do that shit now. It's like just let the character be. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I think Vince, I mean, to be fair, we were covering it before Diesel, I think was a case of that in some ways though,
Mhm. Yeah.
Like I think
Yeah,
Vince is
for
just
sure.
um in a lot of ways the late 90s were really an outlier in terms of the way they did wrestling. So Austin kind of benefited from that. He was the reason, so fair enough. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's an interesting trend. I do think sometimes people can overthink, like just let people roll, let people take the momentum where they want it to go.
Mhm.
But
Right, right.
but nonetheless, Missy Hyatt, this is her swan song. This show is kind of how does her run wrap up, Oracle? Missy Hyatt and ECW. Oh, looks like he's back.
Am I
Did you
back?
hear me, Oracle?
I did.
Yes. Did
Mhm.
you hear me?
Yep, yep. Am I
Okay,
back?
Missy Hyatt. How did
Yeah.
her run? Yes, mate, you're back. How did her run wind down, mate?
Uh, I thought she was a really good pairing with Sandman, actually. Not as good as the
Mm-hmm.
woman pairing.
Right.
But it worked to a degree. If I remember correctly, just from the Wikipedia article, I think it was something like she and Laurie Fullington got into like a she like tore out like Missy's like
She got actually
hair.
hurt, didn't she?
Yeah, she like hurt her
Yeah.
legit, and like Missy obviously was not very happy about that,
Yeah.
and that ended up kind of expediting her the end of her run. This was her last legitimate run in wrestling.
Mm.
I mean, it was over for player
Indeed.
and
Last legitimate run, folks.
mainstream run.
Last legitimate run.
Uh, am I
Last one.
back? Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yep.
I didn't even know I
Last
went out that
legitimate run.
time. I didn't even know I went out
Last
that time.
legitimate run, Oracle. No,
Yeah.
man, it is what it
Yeah.
is. It's fine.
Pretty much. This might be my last legitimate run with this fucking laptop. Uh,
Yeah,
but
the laptop's
yeah,
last run for
yeah. This
sure.
was
Yeah.
this was Missy's last run. She was on the indies some and still is at fan conventions. But yeah,
Yeah.
this was kind. This was it for her.
Shame. She was a fun
Mhm.
character on TV, man, for
She
sure.
was. She was.
Bubba and Devon, their feud continues on. Where are we at on this front, Oracle?
Their feud rules, man. Their matches are like kind of violent as shit, and they beat the shit out of each other. And
Oh my god.
it's really fun to watch them like do crazy spots and like work in
Mhm.
their goofy overalls, and the crowd loves it. And Bubba's super over as a baby face, and of course, eventually they'll. I've just come to the point where Bubba turns heel and joins back with Devon, and poor
Okay.
Spike takes the most violent looking 3D I've ever. In fact, might be the first ever 3D, and Spike gets like almost his head cut off from it.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like he just lands like chin and neck first on like Bubba's chest. And it's like,
Mhm.
oh fuck.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, it's a fun feud.
Mhm.
Um, I I I uh, I enjoy it quite a bit actually.
Good stuff. I didn't even know this was a thing, honestly.
Hmm.
It's kind of
Yeah.
wild. So I'm glad to hear it's good. Johnny Smith is in the promotion. Um, I was unaware. I don't know how long this run goes because he's full All Japan too, right? At this point,
Hmm.
yeah. So how's his arrival in the promotion, Oracle?
It's just a couple of months.
Okay,
The matches are really not that great, I mean, he was
right,
never that much of a special worker anyways, but
yeah.
just, it's one of those things where Heyman goes, "Oh, let me get this guy and these
Mhm.
nerds that are here."
Yeah, send
Yeah,
a letter to Dave about it, the
right.
usual. Yeah. Not that he would do that now, obviously, but,
Right.
back
No.
then, he would. Alright, tremendous. Works for me. How would you kind of surmise ECW's August '96? Good stuff, or where we at?
To me, it's um 96 has been a lot of people think it's better than 95. I think 95 is better.
Mhm.
The first, like, 3 or 4 months of 96 are awesome.
Okay.
Um, I think it's starting to really kinda, like, just kinda it's tough when WWF is starting to, well, really right now WWF's really kinda, and we'll touch on it, they're really still struggling here, but, um, ECW is just falling behind, particularly with WCW,
Right.
and I don't know, they really start to feel a little bit bush league here, you know?
It's tough too
It
because
it
Eric
helped
implements a lot of his
it
stuff too.
the barely legal build is really good, and when
Mhm.
Terry Funk comes in, his promos are incredible. Have you seen those promos?
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, they're amazing. Like, just the
Tremendous.
guy talking, it's amazing.
He's the best,
And,
man.
like, and they Taz Sabu build, which is awesome, like, when they really
Mhm.
get going, and, like, building up, the Sandman and Stevie as potential, it's just it's a great, great build. Um, but we're a couple of months away from that,
Right.
and Shane Douglas and the Pitbulls feud sort of carries your promotion for a while. And I will say this, that was a hot angle and a hot feud, and the angle that they do in October is incredible and insane, and we'll touch on it in depth when we get there. But there's really nothing else that compelling going on.
Mm.
Um, they kind of fall into sort of November to Remember, and it's a really, really good show.
Right.
And then from there, they really start to kind of get back at it and get really good again. I I didn't expect fall of '96, late summer '96 ECW to be as disappointing as it's been for me, but I've been a little bit disappointed with it. I really enjoyed the last 4 months of '95 were great.
Right.
I thought maybe even the first 6 months of '96 were really, really good.
Mm.
But the last couple, the late summer and it's just not
I think it's
part of
hard
the
because
NWO angle's so hot, and
exactly, yeah.
like Sean's title reign's going away and Brett's coming back to WWF and Austin's getting
Mhm.
hot. So it's and the Mankind Taker feud's really good, right? Like and they're having this like sort of innovative feud that's like better than a lot of these ECW hardcore matches that are going on,
Right.
and Taker, of course it's Foley guiding him, but it's like I don't know. It was a rough 3 or 4 month period for them.
I think it's hard because WCW with the NWO angle is now, like, finding its own edge.
Mhm.
So they're kinda doing, like, a major league version in a lot of ways. They're taking a lot of Paulie's stuff, right? Like, goes without saying, I think that's kinda I think Bischoff's
Mhm.
conceded that, right? In terms of some of the
Yeah.
talent and some of the
Right.
so it's very hard for him to compete. Quickly, we do have to discuss this. This is important. Our friend Bob O'Neill, who owns the take that Ahmed Johnson was Kurt Angle, had an incredible day today talking about The Undertaker, and I would like us to just spend a couple minutes. He claimed, Oracle,
Oh
that
no.
The Undertaker had 4 good years. These were the years he opted to suggest: 97, 2001, 2001. I'm going to say it again: 2007 and 2008. Now, I do not want to come here on the Late Night Grim platform and protect the legacy of The Undertaker. But man, that's some crazy shit that Bobby was throwing out. I mean, if you're gonna do it, at least give him the right years, right? 2001.
May I correct Bobby and his mistake that he
Please,
made here?
please do.
Bobby, if you're listening, 1996 and 1997.
Factual.
He was great as a character in 98, but his matches were 2002 and 2003. More so 02.
Old Booger Red. Right?
So that's 4 years.
Yep.
I'm going to give him 06. Okay.
I am too. This is just
and I know this sounds crazy. The Khali matches were good, dude. Those
5.
Khali matches were good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 07 and 08.
Yes. Does he wrestle all in 09?
The Shawn match, but the Punk feud sucks. The Batista feud at the end of the year is not good. But the Shawn match is amazing. And the first 3 months of the year is really good. But the problem is after he leaves, when he comes back, that's when his body's like clearly like.
I genuinely think
25 was really his swan song as like a full on like health, like physical wise, he was really good still.
Mm-hmm. I think once he gets like rolling as sort of when the Dead Man was kind of this presence on SmackDown, I think he's genuinely very good in that run.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. 06, 07, 08, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I think he's like really good. Best pure striker, brother. But 03, we named 7 years, almost 8.
Yeah. Bob's never been good at maths. I've told you this before. Anyway, before we move on from ECW, Joe has a question. What's your opinion on Fonzie's whistle?
Fucking annoying.
Yeah, the only opinion one could possibly have.
He's great in the act. Man, it's tough sometimes. Thankfully,
Indeed.
like that, like ugly sound. It's like kind of a fun sound. The ECW crowd they pick up kind of drowns it out sometimes, but it's like, God, shut up.
Yeah, it drives me nuts. Let's head to the home of the Undertaker. I guess still right, World Wrestling Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment now, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's officially the case.
The home of Sting.
Yeah.
WWF's the home of the Undertaker, and ECW's the home of Tommy Dreamer.
By the way, I would like to know there will be an announcement in this show regarding Bob O'Neill and his status for Thursday's Grin. An oracle, I think it may be of interest to you. So, folks, stay tuned. All right, WWF SummerSlam 1996, a famous main event. Let's start there. Shawn Michaels and Vader. Let's talk through their program. This gets the match. You did give it as the month, the promotion's best match for the month. But man, is it a match that comes with some asterisks and some controversy. I really like the match, but it isn't just a match in a vacuum. There's a lot more that comes with it, unfortunately. So let's talk it. Vader and Shawn, Oracle. Go ahead, mate.
The first half is really good.
Yes.
And then, like, there's a 2 or 3 minute stretch where Shawn pitches a fit because Vader's not in place for a stupid elbow drop or doesn't get up and move or some shit. And Shawn literally has a fit in the middle of the ring like a child. And then they decide, well, Vader's a big guy, so I guess we protect him, but not really. And we have to do, a count out, a DQ, and all this other horse shit. and then he gets pinned clean anyways.
Exactly. Yeah. What the fuck?
What's the point of this?
Yeah.
I don't know. The match was really good up until that, until the fit and the madness of booking, and it was just so ridiculous.
Do you think historically it's overstated how big a moment this was in Vader's career, kind of fading away in the States, or do you think it's a genuine like moment to mark in the Canada? It's never the same after this for him. What do you think? Because I kind of think it's deeper than this, and it's just he never felt at home in that promotion ever to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. He gets more opportunities to have good matches in 97. I thought he was really good in 97. I think he was great in 97. Because they no longer care about him.
Yeah, so he kind of just becomes like
allowed to go out there and kind of be Vader a little bit again. Obviously not as much as he was in WCW.
I'm with you though. Yeah, I agree.
Like And then, of course, Russo gets the book by the end of 97, and it's over. Like, I'm a fat piece of shit, you know? And it was just like, you killing the guy, man. And
Yeah.
thankfully he was awesome in All Japan for, another year or two before, he started to wind down in Noah, and he was still pretty good there even. Obviously his final All Japan run
Yeah.
was obviously kind of the last sort of that was really the twilight of Vader's career.
Hmm.
But yeah, he it was just this was the last point where he was like a true player, you
Yeah.
know, in the States, and it was a bad time for him. Um, I don't really know. I don't think he would have worked in this Nitro era WCW either, to be honest.
The Hogan thing was a big problem anyway. I mean,
Yeah,
that
it
was
it 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 wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have
no.
worked.
I mean, I really like their match at Super Brawl,
Mhm.
Hogan and Vader,
Yeah,
that is.
great
But
match.
when they have the cage match, they had so many issues politically because Vader didn't want to. He didn't want to just be a guy who takes the leg drop like fucking Kamal or whoever. But Hogan obviously kind of wanted him to do that because he's Hogan. That's the way he operated. And it was a different promotion then. It's a shame in a lot of ways because it feels like if WCW was in a different place when he left WWF, he could have gone home, quote unquote. But nah, man, it didn't feel like that. Oh, it would have been really weird him being in WCW in like 1998, 1999. That would have been
Yeah,
very strange for
that would
them.
not have I just it wouldn't have worked.
No, I agree.
Um,
Yeah, it's interesting. We have a question here.
Great
Oracle's a
question.
noted. Yeah, as a noted Sid fan. Are you bothered that Sean cost Vader the title run? Are you happy that happened because Sid got instead? Also, it gives us that moment at the Garden,
Mhm.
which
Yeah, as Sid was just a better fit.
yeah,
I'm
happens.
I'm not gonna lie, I like 99 Sid in WCW too,
Sid's a hoot,
but
brother. He's
he's just
fun.
he's a blast to watch. Um, he's awesome in ECW showing up to powerbomb fools, like he's awesome. But I'm actually not. I'm gonna be happy that this opened the way for Sid, only because deep down, like we talked about, Vader just didn't fit into WWF.
Yeah, the guys all thought he was like
Sean
overrated and stuff too. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Oracle didn't quite fit. Did not quite fit. Indeed, Oracle, I agree. Didn't
Okay.
quite fit, did he, Oracle?
No.
He didn't.
Am I here?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
I
yeah.
just repeated that he didn't fit like 4 times while you were
Right, right. While I
But
was
yeah,
while I was, vanishing from the stream again.
so I've noticed that it happens every like 15 minutes, and I'm kind of fascinated by how prolific it is in that regard. It has happened.
It's almost like
Uh,
it's on a timer, isn't it? It's like my
it is
laptop is like,
incredible, yes.
yeah.
But yeah, anything else on the Sid Vader fit? Because I know you were talking about them when you broke up.
Um, no, it's just that like Sean's an ass for it, and like that's annoying for sure.
Mhm.
But Vader just didn't fit, and Sid was just a much better character, much better fit.
Yes, indeed. As Rob said, didn't quite fit. Sometimes, folks, it comes in twos like a bus. You kind of have to be ready for that. In
Uh,
the next 15-minute interval, we'll kind of we'll reconsider. Here he is, Oracle's back. No, I think um yes, this is a big thing. It's been talked about a lot by WWF guys. Vader bumping too much, and the guys thinking he was like a fake big man and stuff. Um, I think wrestling fans, this is myself included, will be well served to accept the general rule that some guys are just better fits in some places than others. And it is not always a great failure of the booker or the wrestler. It's just the way it works. And that's why we need multiple promotions, right? Some guys belong in certain places. Some guys, no matter how hard you try, they wouldn't go over the same way. Now, Vader, I think, clearly could have got over in WWF, but there are obvious examples, right? We both know of them where it's like,
mhm.
it wasn't going to work, man. Like,
Yeah.
Dean Malenko wasn't going to be the Iceman on fucking Raw, bro. Like, it
No,
weren't,
and like this will pop you, okay? I know this is silly,
Mhm.
but there's another comparison. This is such an oracle comparison, but Mikey Whipwreck in WCW, that shit didn't work, man. I think Mikey
Yeah.
would have worked in WWF actually, even in the
Do you
Attitude
think?
Era. Yeah. I actually think so. Even if he was just like a hardcore division guy, I think he would
Well,
have worked.
yeah, he could have done that. Yeah,
Um, but in WCW, he was just a bad fit, man. He didn't work.
yeah.
I know that's on a much smaller scale, but I
No, I'm
mean,
with you. It
like
happens, man. It
it's like
does.
that shit happens.
Yeah. Happens today too, by the way. Happens a lot today. And people
Yeah.
always want to like do a diagnosis of when they're running. It's like, no, man, like it's wrestling, it's why but that is why we need multiple promotions, right? Because you want to
Hmm.
have options for these guys. But
Right.
nonetheless, Camp Cornette is on its last legs here. Clarence Mason is looming. He's about to undercut Jim and quote take his tag team. What a what an ending this is for this faction. What a time. Let's talk us through this kind
It's
of
so bizarre.
it's weird,
Clarence
yeah.
Mason like comes in and then takes out all of Jim Cornette's players, and then like the Nation of Domination forms, and then like these other guys are just kind of left. Not that like Owen and Davey Boy needed a manager anyways, but
Right.
it was just bizarre. Like it was in a lot of ways it was like this was kind of the beginning of the death of the managers in a lot of ways.
Was this? Am I right in saying Cornette wanted to be just like on creative more? I think.
I think so. I think that's
Yeah.
right. And he was definitely on there for a while, and then
Hmm.
you know lots of lots
Lots of
of
things happened. Yeah.
shouting matches with Vince Russo and the
Kevin
writing
Dunn.
room, and
Yeah. Threatening to beat the shit out of everyone in the writing room
yeah.
didn't really get over Bill. Happens. Yeah, it's an interesting time because we talked about this last month. Like Camp Cornette is kind of a centerpiece for the promotion, and it just ends. Like it just unwinds, and the Paul Bearer deal. It's very very. It's interesting to look around how quickly it kind of unraveled. Speaking of Cornette, he took best promo for this month just for like a collective body of work. There wasn't a specific promo. It was just Cornette's
Right.
work in this month. Um, it must have been his choice, right? Because they would have wanted him on the TV show more. I feel like he does commentary too next year, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah, he eventually does. I think he's like
Yeah.
on Heat or Shotgun Saturday Night for a while, and he's on TV sporadically all the way through the middle of '99. Um,
Right.
and then they dump him and throw him back up. All right, Jim, we're gonna put you in Louisville, and
Hmm.
we got this guy named Dave Batista.
I'm told that there's the Leviathan is on the video game. Have you heard about this?
What?
Yeah, he's on the
You
new
see that?
because
Did you see that War Games match Bobby made?
bro, did you see Jey Uso's picture on that game?
Oh,
What the
yeah.
fuck? He looks like. Hang on a second. Now I notice this because we are Jey Uso stands around here, so I'm not. It's just frustrated me because I wanted to see my guy get the respect he deserves in the video game. I saw he got a hell of a rating, which he deserves. Right, I'm gonna try and show this here on my phone. Bobby tweeted this picture, folks. Okay, look at this. What the fuck is that? Why does he look like he's in a different game to everyone else? Look at him.
It looks like he's been photoshopped into it.
Yes. Look, hang on a second, folks. Bear with us here as we talk 2023 video games. Like, what the? Why does he look in a different quality? Jimmy looks similar, to be fair. I don't know what they did.
Jay looks like he's in 4K while the other guys look like they're.
It's bizarre, man. Very strange. Nonetheless, Undertaker and we just talked about Undertaker with Bobby's bad take. Ian Mankind have a very famous boiler room brawl on SummerSlam. Best angle of the month goes to the finish of this match with a big turn. Man, this is some WWF cinema right here, right? This is when they get their style right. Theatrical, dramatic. This is a massive hit. What do you think of it revisiting it?
Oh, an absolutely just tremendous piece of business, honestly, just in terms of like this did a lot of wonders. Not just Taker was always over, even in that shitty $1 million corporation feud, but this really reheated him up because he is like insanely over by the end of the year, and he's like insanely over 97 amongst all those guys of Michaels and Brett and Austin and all. He's just it really helped him get back over, even more so over, and of course he ends up evolving his character more after this. But just the turn was just beautifully executed. Bear is tremendous in this. The match itself is wild and just totally unique even now, 26, 27 years later, right? God, I can't believe it's been that long. But and it's just like the brawling in the boiler room is really ominous. Like
Yeah.
it really works. And the bump, like the ladder bump off the ladder, like it's dark in there. I mean, I know they've got the camera and there's some lighting in there, but it's just crazy bumps. And one of the things that popped me the most is when they're brawling down the aisleway and they have the TVs for the fans at ringside.
Mhm.
And the TVs pop me because it reminds me of those gigantic TVs from when I was a kid. Like, you know, a lot of people remember this. You know, if you were around back then, but those TVs, once you set them up, you didn't want to move them. You know, granted they were on these carts where they could push them around, but like
Yeah.
I've always, there's always those great memes and jokes on Twitter people post of like, like when dad's having to move the TV from
Mhm.
because they're like these gigantic, like
Yeah.
machines that are like immobile and 300 pounds, and it's just
Tremendous.
that little part just popped me. But just an incredibly awesome turn. Just like Taker's going to grab the urn, and then Bear like just like
Great stuff.
bangs him right over the head with it, and just awesome stuff. And like Bear says something into the camera, I think, after this that's just incredible. I can't remember what it was. Some
Hmm.
sly remark that only Percy would say.
He was terrific, man.
Oh yeah,
He was
he's
great.
he's he's great. He's great.
I think because he's so known for this specific role, even though he was Percy for a while before, like, I mean, he had a
Yeah.
real run before this.
Mhm.
I don't think he gets brought up quite enough in, like, people do their best manager ever deal. I'm not saying he should be number one, but I think he should come up more than he does, honestly. I think
Oh yeah.
he was very, very special and very unique to what he could do in this act, which was a very tough act to pull off, let's be fair, So,
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
is this, I may be forgetting an obvious one here, folks. So feel free to tell me, Oracle, you may have something in mind. Is this like the quintessential backstage presentation in terms of a big, a match that's like a fight through the building? Because this kind of feels like it is to me. And again, I could be forgetting something obvious. I
Because
apologize if I am, but
there's so much comedy interspersed with other stuff like the hardcore title stuff and like,
yeah,
but this one is like really visceral. It's one of the only times you'll ever see it where it's like, yeah, they're just having a fight in the boiler room, and it's like it's serious, and
I
you
like the
believe
word
it to be
ominous.
serious.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
like the
something that
ominous
you
word.
laugh at.
Mm-hmm. It has a very unique vibe, definitely. Ominous, I think, is a good way to capture it. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah, for sure.
packs a hell of a punch, man. I think to this day, as you said, it's still to this day, it's striking. You kind of go, "Whoa,
Yeah,
this is different."
yeah.
And that isn't often the case in a kind of a violent sense because we see so much now. But it's the atmosphere of it. It's very interesting to look back on. Mick was very. I mean, Taker was great in this feud, but Mick was
Mhm.
really quite haunting as Mankind for a while there,
Oh yeah,
wasn't he? I mean,
absolutely.
people
He
forget
was
that. I mean,
so believable and so,
yeah,
and like I can't imagine like if I were a little kid watching that shit, this shit
yeah.
would scare me.
I mean, and
You know?
I've always the visual when he does the deal where he pulls the hair, the visual of his scout is
Mhm.
like that's horrific, man. The dude's
Oh, it's
fucking
it's
nuts.
nuts. It's nuts. And Joe's right here in the chat. Taker's character work for me, he was awesome.
Yeah.
And then the ministry forms, and God Almighty, it just immediately just gets awful.
Look,
Like,
this Oracle, we have our fun around here, but
mhm.
the Undertaker was good. You
Oh,
know,
of course,
you know,
of
it's like
course,
he's
yeah,
fucking annoying, of course,
right.
because he's the Undertaker. But like, he was good. Don't let
Oh
Bob
yeah,
it. He was good.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Most of his years where he's bad is because he's wrestling like fucking King Mabel, and
yeah, yeah, yeah. Taker ruled, man.
yeah,
He's too much of a mark for himself. Ha ha ha. Pun intended. But
indeed.
he was great.
Tremendous. Where's your favorite Taker Foley match from that initial 96 run?
Oh man, all of them, like almost all the matches are good. Even the no holds barred match on Raw in December is good. The Survivor Series match is probably the most disappointing. The Buried Alive match is awesome. That match is really
Yeah.
good. Um, Brother and Brawl is great. I mean, all of them are really good. King of the Ring is like shockingly good. Like, well,
Yeah.
not shockingly good because I always thought the match was good, but it's shocking when you're watching it chronologically,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like seeing these crazy spots and like
Yeah.
it's like not. It's like you know. it's nuts.
Foley's work definitely works better if you have a better understanding of the environment surrounding him, because it makes you realize how fucking insane his stuff was, right? Like
Mhm.
you kind of go, "Oh my
Right.
god, it's different in that way." Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting.
their whole feud is good. It goes a tad bit too long, you know?
Hmm.
Um, like, I was fine with Survivor Series return because the Evolve and Bear in the Cage. Then it goes like a month or two after that, and it's like,
Right.
the shitty Armageddon Rules match with Terry Gordy, which is a hoot and a half, and we'll talk about it because Gordy takes a bump out into that like pond or like
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
outside of the in
Oh, that was
Tampa or
such a
whatever,
strange deal.
or
All of
West
that was
Palm Beach.
strange.
Sorry,
Yeah,
yeah, it was very strange.
indeed. We go from one great classic feud that people remember very fondly to one that people remember for different reasons. Less positive ones. Jerry Lawler and Jake Roberts are battling away here. This is bad, man. All of this is bad. And they wrestle at SummerSlam, right?
Oh, it's so terrible.
Yeah,
Mark Henry makes a save. Because
of
Lawler gets
course.
a
Yeah.
bottle of Jim Beam and pours it down Jake's throat, and it's a terrible match, terrible angle. You know, um, a perfect example of don't bring the real life addictions into this shit, man.
Awful. Yeah, awful.
Like it feeds the already, it feeds into these people's addiction. There's too much evidence in my opinion.
Yes, it
It's
never
just
is a
not
good idea.
healthy. It's not healthy. They don't need to be
No,
doing
and
it.
it's worth noting
It
too.
doesn't
There's a
it doesn't
difference,
offend me. Okay,
right?
I'm not easily offended, but it offends other people,
Yeah,
and it's not healthy for these people who are suffering from addiction, and it's really stupid and shitty and dumb, you know?
and again, I do want to say there's a difference between. While I feel a certain way about any of it, quite frankly, there is a difference between a line in a promo and it being the whole construct of the
Right,
conflict. I
exactly. It's
mean,
one thing to
this
make it a
is
line in a promo
yeah,
because it's like, okay, that's in fact, I'm even for that, to some degree,
yeah.
for a line in a promo. When the whole thing is just Lawler and all he's doing is make Jake's not even in a match, and he's talking about this
Yeah.
alcoholism, and it's
What does
just like
Jake do after this? Because he's on creative at some point in '97, isn't
he
he? I
he
think.
tries to join creative and falls off the wagon, God bless him,
Yeah.
and
I know there's one story that's been told where they were supposed to get to the building at like 11 a.m. as the creative team, and he gets there at 9 p.m. It was like, yeah, I overslept. I mean, that's where Jake was at, Like, I mean,
mhm,
it's a shame, man. I mean, it's great. Like, he doesn't do a lot on AEW TV now, and just to be totally transparent, I don't think he should be doing a lot on AEW TV now. But it's great that he can be like have fun in the industry because man, he had a rough go of it there for a long time, and this was really. I mean, there's nothing from Toffer at this point if we're being real, right? I mean, he can't
no.
do a lot. It's a shame. This is a different thing, but you and I had a conversation about this off the air the other day about I think sometimes people lose context and just like sometimes, man, you can try and recapture stuff over and over again, but it's done, like it's over. I was talking to someone about Bray Wyatt to pivot into, something a little bit different here, just while we talk about professional wrestling. And they were saying to me they think this latest run has kind of exposed him in some ways. And I said, look, man, I'll be honest, you might be right, but look through history. Wrestling fans are one of the things I love about wrestling fans, they're very happy. They're very happy to remember the good times, Very happy to remember the good times. And I think when you look at some of these iconic characters, you talk about Jake Roberts, there's a lot of Jake's career that's trying to recapture what was and it fails miserably. But if there's one thing I love about professional wrestling fans, they are willing to say, you know what? Forget that. I remember the way it was. And, I think sometimes you can kind of get lost in that in the moment, right? Like, I mean, how many
Mhm.
times you miss? If you once hit, wrestling fans are happy to remember that, which is pretty cool, I think,
Oh,
personally.
yeah,
So,
and for what it's worth, it's not like Jake was not good after '92. He was really good in '94, actually.
yeah.
Um, the Smoky Mountain feud '94 with Dirty White Boy is amazing, but that's
Hmm.
it. After that, it's over.
Yep.
That's his last great angle and feud.
Yeah. And it's
Is
just, I think it's like they wanted to make it work, but it was never going to, right? It was
no,
done. But,
no.
um, His work is great in 1992 also, by the way. I mean, it's worth noting.
That was like his peak in a lot of ways.
It's just a shame that the match everyone remembers is the Sting match where it's like it's a gimmick, because his
Mhm.
work on TV. He has a match with Dustin at
Mhm.
center stage that is like terrific. Like
Yeah.
he was really a good fit for that product at the time. It's a
Mhm.
shame
Oh,
how things worked
absolutely.
out. Um,
Yeah.
really unfortunate, but even still, and the reason I kind of pivoted the way I did there is because it's worth noting we're focusing on this part of his career. Look, Jake is still to this day relevant. He's iconic, right? I mean, he's an iconic wrestling character, and that
That
there's something to be
promo when he
said for that.
comes in and cuts a promo on Cody,
That's
incredible.
one of the that's a great and it's amazing as a promo. He's never been as good since then. But
Mhm.
that one night he was Jake again,
Yep.
He was terrific. Great to see it. Ahmed Johnson, who I don't know if you know this, Oracle, but our friend Bob O'Neill once said was Kurt Angle before Kurt Angle. He was not at SummerSlam, regardless of any of that. He's unfortunately has
Uh,
to vacate the IC title, and this kind of starts the yeah,
it's the beginning of the end
it is.
for old Big T, as he would become to be
Which
known in WCW.
all jokes aside is a real shame because he really was fun, and it's
Yes,
just a shame.
yes.
But you know,
Yeah,
we
he was so charismatic and just he's a badass, man. He'd come out
yeah,
there and fucking kill people, and let's be honest,
yeah.
he'd hurt people in the ring, you know?
Great
People
squash
hated
match guy.
working with him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, awesome finisher. Pro Over Plunge is one of the great finishers. Great finisher
Mhm.
name, too.
Yep.
Just a fun worker. Just a fun character overall. Um, super over, but this kidney injury was
Yeah.
bad, and, you know, um, I'm glad because it was a really dangerous injury, a scary one.
Mhm.
And I know and he um, it sucks, man, because he really coulda had something special going on, and it derailed him. He could never stay
Yeah.
healthy, and it didn't help that he was in this never-ending Nation of Domination stuff that lasted for a year, and, oh god, it just you know?
Yeah. I mean, I have my fun at Bobby's expense, but he definitely is a what if for
Oh, yeah,
sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
He's actually probably one of the biggest ones ever because most what ifs guys still do an awful lot and just fall short at the final. But Ahmed was just getting rolling, really, man. Like this
It
is
really
this is what
was.
a year into his run, right?
He was the number 1 mid-card babyface, and back
Yeah.
then, that was a setup for a main event push at some
Right.
point, you know?
Absolutely. What's the handling with the IC title? What do they do with the belt here? Is that next month?
They go to a tournament, and
Okay.
Namero eventually wins it, and we'll touch on that here in a couple weeks when we cover September.
Tremendous. This is this is indeed bless Bobby. Again, folks, announcement regarding Bob O'Neill at the end of the show. All right. Yokozuna is back. Bless him. We just kind of had a conversation about Jake. It was never gonna end well, this story. I love Yoko, but by like the end of 94, especially 95, he's a shell of himself. By summer of
Yeah.
96, it can't be
It's
a
just
thing anymore.
yeah, and he
It's such
just
a
comes
shame.
in and out a couple of times. He shows back up at Survivor
Yeah.
Series, and then he's supposed to be in the Rumble in '97. He can't make it, you know?
He couldn't get
Um,
cleared at the end of his career, man.
no,
Like
man, it's just,
athletic commissions wouldn't clear him. Yeah.
yeah, he just, the health and weight stuff was
Yeah.
just overcoming him. Um Yeah, this is the famous finish where the turnbuckles break
Yeah.
and Austin rolls him up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's
On the free for all of all things, I think.
there you go. It's it's just it's a really interesting career he had because he main events WrestleMania twice. You
Mhm.
know, but unfortunately he couldn't get his health in order. It's a shame, but again, though, he's a guy who, while our coverage of him has been mostly kind of like in this vein, and we both enjoy him with Owen, but God
Mhm.
bless Owen was doing
Yeah.
90% of the work there, which he
Yeah.
was great, obviously. He was a really fun wrestler in 1992 and 1993, right? I mean,
Mhm.
he's
Oh,
really,
yeah.
really fun. And not a guy who's going to have matches the way Vader would,
No.
but
Mm.
maybe the owner of the best cutoff of all of wrestling. But Yoko's cutoff, the
Yeah.
back elbow. I know Joe tries very hard to catch, and he does a good job. Yoko, he
Mhm.
had the best on it, man. It was incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
it's just amazing stuff, and his stagger cell,
Yeah,
one of the all-time greats at that too.
absolutely. A very, very fun wrestler that had kind of a brief run on top, but was a good time when he was
He
there. I
never
also
lost the
like his
timing. You
matches with
noticed that? He never lost
yeah.
the timing.
No, man, absolutely. It's just
His
natural, but
mobility got worse and worse, obviously, but his
yeah.
timing was still good. Even if he had to just kinda stand in one place, his timing was still good.
I like his matches with Duggan like a lot.
Mhm.
But they have a
Yeah,
couple on a European tour that are out there. If you can
yeah,
find them, folks, I just really and I mean Yoko had a couple things he would do. That great spot he would do where if a guy clothesline and he would do the big thing where he would like feel like he was gonna fall.
yeah.
And the people were
And the way his
just
eyes would move, the way he did, like, his
yeah,
facial expressions were just
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, he was a blast, man. It's such a shame the way things ended up, but he had a hell of a run on top while he was good. So shout out to Yoko. Okay, Kevin Kelly and Mark Henry are in the promotion. You just mentioned Mark Henry. Anything else on that front? And we'll talk Kevin Kelly off. But anything else on regarding Mark Henry's?
Um, I always forget that he was there that early, and
Hmm.
he's just not really doing much of anything, you know?
Right.
He doesn't really get brought in regularly until the end of '97 and joins the Nation, but, he's there, you know? And you c you don't really get the feeling that he's gonna be much of anything at the time.
Hmm.
You know, it takes a long time for Mark injuries and all that other stuff before they really kind of
Yeah.
dive into what he's, great at, but, which is a long way down the road, about 10 years. 15 really if you include the Hall of Fame, which
15.
is in
Yeah.
2011, but, I think he was good in '06, great in '06, really. But,
Yeah.
and like we talked about when we covered that Goldberg match in the Green Grappler, he was he
Hmm.
was he was good in '03 with Teddy Long.
Yeah.
But, he's got a long way to go, but he's around wearing those goofy hats that only wear in the '90s.
He's a guy who he came really close to being a big what if. And then in the final act, they finally gave him the presentation. They simplified it and made him just him, made him a killer.
Yeah.
And he became a
Mhm.
legend, man. People remember Mark Henry very fondly now, but for a while there, it looked like he was going to be a what if in his own right. Like
Oh,
it
yeah.
just they never figured it out with him. Even when he had figured it out, and ultimately it got there. Thankfully, he'd be a good grim grappler one day. I think Oracle Mark Henry. I think we'd have a good
Oh,
time
yeah,
with that. So
absolutely.
um, maybe we'll get that one day. Kevin Kelly, what's he up to in the WWF thus far?
Okay, 2 things about Kevin Kelly. 1, whenever I think about him when I was a kid, I had Unforgiven 2000 on VHS.
Hmm.
When Stone Cold comes back and he throws Kevin Kelly into the
Oh
metal
yeah,
poles,
yeah.
it makes me laugh. And then the other thing
Pop.
is, I bring it up every time we talk about him, that fucking Ring of Honor YouTube show he had.
Hello, wrestling fans.
Yes.
With his little laptop and shit, and yeah.
He was there for so long.
Where Ring of
Um,
Honor or WWF?
WWF, I forget he was there for so long.
It is genuinely incredible that he ended up being the voice of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like Kevin Kelly will be remembered, and he's still. By the way, I think Kevin Kelly's great now. But when it's all said and done, he will be remembered as the guy who became the US voice of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and that is fucking incredible. Who could have ever saw that coming here in August 1996? Truly incredible developments. But okay, well, I'm glad he's here. Obviously, I think at one point there was hopes he would be the voice of the WWF after JR, but they went with Michael Cole, and the rest is history. Speaking of the rest being history, Bret the Hitman Hart. He is hinting at a return. This is in the midst of his kind of contract uncertainty. He will obviously eventually re-sign for a contract that will result in all sorts of issues. Um, Man, he makes a decision, unfortunately, that will change a lot of things. But he's hinting here, Oracle, where are we at with Brett? What's happening in August?
Real quick,
Yes,
let's answer a few questions from the chat.
mate,
Meech, I do
go
not
for it.
remember the Bundy Mabel Royal Rumble.
Pop.
And I think Pro Joe says the Tory. I think that's the hat I was referencing. It's like a style of hat or something, I
I think
guess.
it's in reference to Kevin Kelly.
Oh, was it?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Based on what I know about Kevin Kelly, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. Based on what Bix knows about Kevin Kelly, I'm very sure.
Okay. I got you. That went over my head there.
You might be right. I don't know.
Oh no, he said yes. He said
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
Right,
Okay.
Kevin, my bad.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but okay, so Brett. Brett has what a transition back to Brett. But Brett, he has like 2 interviews, right?
Mhm.
One in April, I think we covered.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
He's on the tour, and then this is like his first one. He's like on a boat or something, and he's like typical, like sad, sad go lucky
introspective.
Brett.
Yeah.
Not happy go lucky, but sad go lucky Brett. Bitter and like Brett fucking rules, man.
Yeah, he's the
I remember
best.
I don't remember the whole content of it, but he was just like, I know I might not come back, and it was he alludes that he's talking to WCW, which was kind of a crazy moment in the interview.
Mhm.
It's like, oh shit,
Yeah, because he says that in his live promo, right? That's like they build to this big live promo. Yeah. Man, for anyone that doesn't know, Brett was offered $9 million over 3 years and signed a 20-year contract for $10 million. Can you repeat those numbers, folks? $9 million over 3 years or $10 million over 20 fucking years. 20 years. And he took that latter contract, the 20-year contract. And obviously, the rest is history. But I think it's 10 for 20. I'm almost certain.
Yeah, I think
Almost
that's
certain.
right. Which is, and then Vince is like, I can't pay it. Of course you can't.
Yeah.
Getting your ass kicked every Monday night, pal.
And he, the one thing that does come from all of that
Maybe
is
it
to
was
get.
20 for 20.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, maybe not. Probably
Because I
not.
don't think they'd have signed $1 million downside then,
Yeah, not then.
No. Obviously, things change very quickly.
Right.
I'm almost certain it's 10 for 20. But
Okay. Can I ask one question real quick? I don't mean to.
yes.
Okay, this is for Meech, but also people who were watching at the time because I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Please help me on this. It drives me insane. I can't find all the info. If you can remember the timeline, because I know Meech was an East Coast guy. Help me with this. Nitro and Raw, were they actually head to head from September of 95 to May of 96? Or was Nitro on first and then Raw after? Or were they actually head to head?
My God. I hope they were actually head to head because otherwise I feel like I've kind of been lied to. I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to make sure that I've got the correct. I'm trying to make sure that I've got the correct number here.
Because I'm aware that once Nitro goes to 2 hours, the first hour of Nitro is unopposed.
Okay.
And the second hour, okay, they overlapped 1 hour once they both went to 2. I don't even think they were going head to head in the first 6 months. Or
That's
7, 8 months.
hilarious.
So I think Nitro was on from 8 to 9 and Raw was 9 to 10.
Well, that kind of ruins the law.
But that's why they're making such a big deal about the second hour.
Got ya.
Because
you mean when they would
fire
pyro?
Because remember when there's a second hour, there's an hour that has changed or whatever.
Tremendous.
The course of wrestling. Because that's the one where they go head to head with Raw. And so it's the second hour.
That makes sense, yeah.
And that means in 97 there's 3 hours of TV, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Meech or Joe, in the chat. So 97, 8 to 9, you get Nitro. 9 to 10, they're both on. And then 10 to 11, you get the last hour of Raw unopposed.
Oh, God.
And then 98.
I had no idea.
They're, yeah.
There you go. All right, folks.
Yep.
I'm trying to find the official. I swear in Brett's book he says $10 million. I know it's 9 from WCW, $3 million a year, right? But nonetheless, the Hitman will obviously be back soon, and the Austin series is pivotal in WWF history, obviously, because if he doesn't have that program with Brett, it's like
season.
insane. Yes. Okay. All right, folks. Let's wind down. Oracle, how would you kind of sum up August '96 for the WWF?
Not great, honestly,
Yeah.
but not terrible. The bear return was a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
Joining up with Mankind. Things still don't look all that great until Brett comes back officially,
Right.
and they really start to ramp up the build of Survivor Series, and it's exciting. It's just a really strong card.
Mm-hmm.
Then things after Survivor Series, it starts. They really start to kind of throw
Right.
things at the wall a little bit and start to really kind of work their way into the magic that they end up making. But we're still a few months away. They're still getting their asses kicked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great.
It's they need the hitman, brother, as you said, right? It's like we all do the bit now of like Brett guys, not Sean guys. Sean's great, obviously. But Brett does bring something truly special to something. In '97, obviously, he's going to be transformative, and
Right.
I'm excited to cover all that and more in the coming weeks and months, folks. There you go. August '96 in the books for the Historical Oracle. Lots of fun times, though, man. A lot going on. SummerSlam month. ECW had two big shows. WCW had two big shows. Obviously, WCW is running well. It was a good time. Next month we've got Full Brawl, right, which was War Games and all that comes with that, which is there's a lot
Oh
to get
yeah.
into with that one.
Oh yeah.
Interesting times. What else is happening in September? Just kind of
Mind
roughly.
Games, Sean and Mick, which is
Oh,
amazing. A classic match.
one of the best matches of the '90s, honestly, in the States,
Mhm.
right?
Yep. Yep.
That's interesting. Okay, so good times. And we'll see kind of ECW. I know you've kind of you got into their slight dip in quality for you anyway in
Mhm.
the fall. But
Mhm.
we'll cover all that and more next time out. Now, folks, I do have an announcement regarding our friend Bob O'Neill.
Mm.
Now, Bob will be absent from this Thursday's late night grin. However, he did so many bad tweets today that I gave him a task. And this is where we're at, folks. Bob O'Neill has listed his 64 favorite wrestlers. He is currently in the process of seeding these wrestlers in a March Madness style bracket.
Oh no.
So this Thursday, the flagship program, the Late Night Grin, we will be going through the bracket of Bob, the best of Bob bracket, as we go from 64 all the way down to 1, ranking Bob's best favorite wrestlers. I don't know if you're going to be there for this,
Well,
Oracle.
there's four brackets, right? 1 to
Yes,
16, like a
yes.
tournament style, like it would be in
Mm-hmm.
basketball.
Indeed.
Oh no.
Bob Badness. Oh my God! Thank you. Don't have that. That's the new name.
Brock's getting upset in the first round.
Yeah, we got to be real nasty with some of these. I feel. Apparently, Mercedes is on the bracket, so we got to
Oh.
work our magic, brother. Yeah, it's Meech. Hopefully, Bob. I don't know where Bob's at I know he has the 64. If he has it done, we'll try and get out there, mate. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It'd be fun for people to fill in their own, and that'll be Thursday show. So there you go,
I might have
folks.
to be on for that one.
Yeah,
I might
I
have to
think
be on to break
I
that
think so.
sucker down.
I think we might need you honestly when we get to fucking Abyss and Ronda Rousey or whatever the fuck he's gonna have, whatever he's gonna have waiting for us, you know.
Shelton Benjamin, number 2
Oh
seed, some
yeah,
bullshit
Shelton's
like
gonna be
that.
so high. Yeah, it's so difficult because I like Shelton, but he likes him so much it makes me not want to like him. You know, it's terrible. He's so aggressive with it. Just doing live tweets for these shitty main event matches that he's. I mean, come on, let's have some. Nonetheless, anyway, Oracle. Any final words, any plugs or promotions as we wind down here, mate?
Probably back here for this in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We got the Grin Grappler next Tuesday.
It'll probably be
Uh,
3 weeks, right? Because we've got Mania week after that.
yep,
So probably
yep,
3
yep,
weeks.
yep. You're right about that. 3 weeks.
Probably
Yep,
3.
probably. Could be. It could be. Yeah, we'll try to do it the Tuesday after Mania.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think we'll be busy with that. Sometimes we can get a little
Right.
busy the week after Mania, but we'll see. If not, it'll be the week after that. So a couple weeks. Grin Grappler next Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
8 o'clock. Stang.
Fired up, brother.
Stang.
We got some cool matchups. Got some weird matchups. Good time.
Of course, the flagship where we break down Bobby's bracket.
Bob Badness is so good, man.
Oh, that's the name of the show. Yeah,
Yeah,
Bob
so
Madness.
good. So good.
Bob Badness. There you go.
So good.
Mania week, we got something. We got some stuff cooking for Mania week, folks.
Yeah, we do. To answer this, there will be deciding the decade. There probably will be a game night. There is also a WrestleMania 19 grin along that's taking place that week because Bobby's wants to do that, and I'm more
Tuesday
excited.
night. Is there any way we can do? We can do it off the air, but can we? March 28th. Can we do deciding the decade at 8:00 on March 28th?
I think it makes sense to me. I mean, we're definitely going to do it.
That's because the way my work schedule is, I've kind of mapped out Tuesdays as
consistent. I think that's probably when we'll do it. I mean,
shows and stuff. So
Sunday's Fed Dead will be our preview show, right? Because it just makes sense. So we can kind of So
26
Sunday. 26. Tuesday will probably be deciding the decade. Thursday will probably be the WrestleMania 19 grin along, I think, because that week the grin is going to be on Friday after Supercard.
And I have Friday off of, I got Friday through Monday of Mania weekend off for.
The only problem with Thursday is there's a lot of shows going on. I'm trying to figure out the best way to.
It depends on what shows are going on though, because Supercard of Honor is for Friday night, right?
We might actually do. The more I think about this, I mean, I need to clear it, Bobby, obviously, but we might actually be best to do the WrestleMania 19 grin along. Whoever's going to be on that a week before, like the Saturday, because then we just have more free space. So I know that a lot of people are going to watch that Impact show on Thursday. You know, the one with your boy Osprey on it. So we'll see. We've got stuff on the works, folks. Nonetheless, there'll be a lot going on, and I think we had a blast last year.
Probably. I'm sure we'll have some formal announcements sometime next week about how that stuff will all pan out.
And it is worth noting that we are, as of right now, intending to do actual live reviews for main, like we did last year, right? Usually we let it go, but Mania we do live, right?
We're going, we're aiming to do it. Hopefully Joe can make it. I'm even willing to, if Joe can't make it, because God bless him, it's 5 hours ahead. Bobby and I'll jump on there and we'll get Jay Shell.
I'm going to be there on those.
I'm going to be whoever. But I'm just saying that just in case.
Especially this year's different. Last year I loved the shows in the end.
Yeah.
But build up, this year that Usos tag match, I wouldn't miss that. I'm so excited for that. And then the second night, I'm all in on Cody and Roman. I mean, it sounds like so. I'm gonna be watching both shows live this year, so we'll be doing that. It'll be a good time. Very exciting. There's a lot to like right now, and it's just it's a fun time. It's exciting, man. So we will make the most of it. And Mania week last year, we swung for the fences and we hit mostly. I'm gonna try and do it again here. So lots to look forward to, folks. All right, there we go. Another historical arc in the books. August 1996, brother. We move ahead. We'll see you guys on this show at least in 3 weeks, but we'll probably see you both. Beautiful face. We'll see you on Thursday. Hopefully, Oracle, you can make that one right, because that will be.
Yeah, I think I can. Yeah.
Even if just in the middle of it, right?
I think I can fit 90-2 in there.
Yeah, there you go. Tremendous stuff, folks. Keep grinning. Hope you've had a wonderful time with us here this evening. I'll probably try and do something tomorrow. I don't know yet my schedule, and I'm doing a show with Monty, so it may be tough. But Thursday, I have nothing else. The flagship, latenightgrin.com. You know the deal. Bye now. All right. Keep grinning, folks. All how. Enjoy this outro.